Good, good, good. Just came on to do a live. Just was thinking about the teen moms I've been ministering to lately and single parents. You know, was sharing some of my life stories as a single mom, teenage, starting from the beginning, coming out of high school, going to college one semester, and end up having a child in my first semester of college. And, I was sharing how it was hard, it was difficult because the realization began to come with now I have a child, so how do I take care of that child? But I want to encourage you, it can be done. You're going to have to plan whatever it is, whether you have children and they're babies or whether you're a single mom right now. You're looking around trying to figure it out how to get it all together. Back there in the 80s, when I had my first child and stuff, they had different programs for the single moms and people who didn't graduate. They still have some of the GED programs, but they had people who were on assistance. They had different programs. And I was able to get into some of those programs and build my skills. So I want you to look for um, a program in your area and see what's going on. There's a lot going on in the library. If you come to the point and you finally figured it out, you know that you need extra income, you need more money, you need to put two and two together to make three. It's tough out here, but you can make it. I would start first of all with, especially if you're a young teenage mom, I would start with possibly, sitting down, making a list of the things that you can do. What skills do you have? Sometimes, people, when they're raised by different people in their family who have skills, they teach those skills to their children or their grandchildren. I try to teach my grandchildren as much as I can when they're with me so that as they grow up, they'll have skills that they might not get from their mom or in other environments. So being a teenage mom, I went through a lot. I had to make decisions young. I had to figure out how I was going to take care of my apartment. First of all, my mom, once I had my baby, she was like, you got to go. And she found me. She came home from work and she was like, I found you an apartment up over my aunt. So that took like most of at that time I was on public assistance, and that took most of my money. So I had to figure out how I was going to take care of a home and take care of a baby and, try to build my skills. So you can do it. You can take and come up with a plan so you can take and make things work for you. Whatever age you're at, don't give up hope on you making it. Even if you're in a job you really don't want to be in, think beyond that job. What skills do you need to build and begin to build so you can take and go forward in your life? You don't have to be, a lot of times people say, well, those dead end jobs. First of all, some jobs are better than no job, but you take the skills that you have and then you multiply them into other skills. So you always have to wake up with a vision. What am I going to do next? So being that teenage mom, I went back to school. I got into some certification programs. I built my skills. And like I said, when I'm watching those soap operas and I realized, and a lot of times we're distracted because social media, back then it was soap operas for me, or the night soaps and stuff. So I spent a lot of time doing those things and I realized these people are getting paid. So I wasn't advancing as a single mom. I had to look, what can I do? You have to build your skills. You have to take and go and get the knowledge. I always encourage people to hit the free public library. The libraries have vast information. I'm in Connecticut, but I was out in Ohio. Where was I at? I was at the library in Ohio. They have so many free programs that you can go and get educated for free. You have your Google, you have your YouTube. So you don't have to stay where you are. You can build a life beyond where you are. I don't care what kind of situation you're in. The Lord told the woman of God I was under for years, there's money everywhere. It depends on what kind of money you want. I realize that. But you have skills. You have so many talents. If you go to work every day and you clock in and say you're a cashier, I was a cashier for over 30-something years in different people's businesses. I developed customer service skills. I developed the cash register. I developed stock. So you take those skills and you build upon them. If you want to take and go into nursing, I was a receptionist in the hospital on a patient care unit, working on a computer. So that skill. So look around, begin to build your skills, and you can learn right from home. You don't always, especially nowadays, you don't always have to go outside the home. You got this phone in your hand. Use your phone as a library. Google, research, develop your want to go further than where you are. You know, a lot of times when you're a single parent, you have to borrow. You get tired of borrowing. You could start a resale business. What do I mean by resale business? You know, Miss Fern, take what you have and you're not using anymore, or people you know are giving things away. I pick up things on the side of the road. I clean them up. I got things today from someone, and they gave me, I mean, not today, this past weekend, I got children's clothes. I got coats. I clean them up. I put them out there. So being single, a single mom, if you're a mom, a dad, parents, come together, start your own business. It doesn't take as much as what the world has told people it takes. It takes a want to. It takes a desire to be better. You have so many skills. You have so many gifts that you can begin to build upon. So you get that stuff up, especially being a single mom. You know, it's hard getting daycare. It's hard finding trustworthy people that you can even leave your children with, even family. Sometimes you can't leave your children with your own family, but what you can do is build that business right where you are. You know, if the electric is due and you need that, you know how they always send those shut-off notices? You know, back then, the moratorium was April. They would turn people's gas off or electric off. So you were always trying to figure out how you're going to stay up on your bills. That's important, to at least make some type of payment on your bills. And I'm talking to the younger ones more so, who don't know. They're out here trying to handle these rents and stuff, and the rents are ridiculous. So what are you going to do to supplement your income? Start a small little business. Start a babysitting business. But you have to be trustworthy and responsible. So if you're going to have your child, I would encourage you to make sure you get some training. Like I said, there's Google, there's the library. You can go and get knowledge. You don't have to stay stuck. So as a single parent, when I was a teen parent, I worked under the table. You know, they say, oh, well, you know, Miss Frank, I did what I had to do to take care of my children. So I would work 2, 3 jobs sometime to make ends meet. If people let me work in their store, I would work in their store. So I always had some type of money or food coming in at that time to help me to make it through. So I want to encourage my young and my parents and anyone who needs extra income. You can do it. You can start with what you have and you work from there. If you sell one item a week, you can put it on Facebook Marketplace. If you sell an item, you can put it on eBay. There's different platforms that you can sell at. I sold at flea markets. I sold out of my vans. I had to make it work so that my family can go further in their life. And so I did it, and I'm still doing it. You know, years and years later, my children are grown, and I'm always telling them, you got to have a business. You got to have a backup. No longer can you rely on these jobs. These jobs aren't certain. So you got to begin to build your own business so that you'll never be without. Yes, it's going to be tough, but you know what? As a single parent, had I had the knowledge and the resources that I have now, I would have been able to do even better. So you have skills, you have knowledge, utilize it to make it work for you and your children. As far as the single parents, the parents, you can do it. Make ends meet with what you have. So I want to encourage you. This is Miss Fern. I'm going to be coming on again. Going to be doing some more courses in how to start that business right from what you have. The cell phone in your hand, laptop, library. I taught myself, self-taught, how to take and at least build my technical skills. The other parts came along different areas in my life where I was learning through other people. Other people were mentoring me. So you can do it. You can build that business. Teen parents, you don't have to go without. You don't have to. And you don't have to beg Peter and Paul and keep borrowing money, because every time you borrow, you really don't have it to pay it back. It's tough. But I want you to know you can do it. You can do it. Hi, how are you doing today? I hope you are doing well. I want you to keep your head up, keep going, be encouraged, because you can do it. Take care of those children, raise them, keep them close to you, find things to do. We know it's going toward the end of summer. You know, I was talking to one of my daughters the other day, and she was like, Mom, we play hide go seek in the house. I remember I used to get my kids after we finished dinner. We would bowl. We would bowl in the kitchen. We would clear the table away, the chairs away. We would set up the 2-liter bottles of soda, and we would begin to do activities. So there are things that you don't have to do outside of the house. You could do right within your home and build a business. You can do it. I want you to be encouraged. I will be chatting with you later. Be safe out here. These mosquitoes is about to tear me up, but I'm going to go in. But be encouraged, and we'll talk to you later. This is Miss Fern. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.